Cardano's 88 token has made massive moves these past couple of weeks, recently hitting a new all-time high of 297. But if you look on StockTwits, YouTube, you'll see people making very optimistic price estimates for Cardano. I mean, there's people like really think that ADA will hit over $100 this year. And being as this is my second largest position, I got a lot riding on this, so I wouldn't really mind seeing ADA hit that price range. But the reality is that that's just not possible. And you can figure that out just by looking at the market cap for Cardano and seeing that it's already the third largest cryptocurrency, only behind Bitcoin and Ethereum, of course, with the market cap of around $85 billion right now. So the purpose of this video really is to give people a better idea of what Cardano is, to see if you as an investor would want to put your money and invest into this protocol. I won't be going into everything in major detail here, since that'll just take way too long. But if there's anything else you want me to go over in more detail in a separate video, just let me know. And yeah, most of the research was taken from the Cardano white paper and the Cardano docs. So who runs Cardano? Charles Hoskinson and Jeremy Wood founded Cardano in 2015. Charles is the CEO of IOHK, and Jeremy is the Chief Strategy Officer. So IOHK is the technology company behind the development of the actual Cardano system. And they're only going to stay in control of Cardano until the final stage is set, which would be Voltaire, and I'll get into that a little bit later on. In total, there are 3 entities that handle the Cardano project. There's IOHK, which I just talked about, and of course, like I said, they handle the development. There's the Cardano Foundation, which is meant to promote Cardano development, and then the third entity is Emergo, which focuses on bringing new companies to the Cardano blockchain. But the face of Cardano is without a doubt Charles. Charles co-founded Ethereum and left in 2014 due to differences with Vitalik and the development of Ethereum, where it was going. Charles posts regularly on YouTube. If you want to check that out, he does regular updates on the project as well as Q&As. And if you have the time to check out his interview appearance on the Lex Rating podcast, I definitely recommend that. That was 5 hours long, so yeah, get comfy. But if you're a fan of blockchain or crypto, I'd definitely give it a listen. I'd give you a better idea of who Charles is and what his philosophy is. And really, he's the main reason I'm so into this project. And yeah, I'm very optimistic for the future of it. So what is Cardano? Cardano is a decentralized third-generation proof-of-stake blockchain platform that is under the ADA currency. In short, you can think of Bitcoin as a first-generation blockchain that offers a decentralized ledger for the secure transfer of BTC. So that's its only purpose, really. You can think of Ethereum as a second-generation blockchain, as this blockchain platform offers more advanced features to support smart contract and app development, as well as the creation of different token types. And then there's the third-generation blockchain platforms like Cardano, which combines properties of the prior generations and evolves to help solve key fundamental issues as user needs arise. And what sets Cardano apart from any other blockchain is that it was built on academic research. Like if you just look at all the papers they publish, you'll see that there's literally something for everything that they do, which just shows how dedicated and serious they are about guaranteeing functional correctness of the core components in the system. I mean, Ouroboros, which is the proof-of-stake protocol for Cardano, was the first the first consensus protocol that was developed through peer review. So yeah, if you want to learn more about Ouroboros, there's a paper for that. If you want to learn about Hydra, there's a paper for that. Literally, paper for every single thing. And yeah, fully open source. Cardano focuses on 3 core concepts. So scalability. This will ensure that the ledger will be able to process a large amount of transactions without affecting the performance of the network. Number 2 is interoperability. Cardano aims to ensure that it is the most multifunctional environment by enabling users to interact with multiple currencies across different chains. And sustainability is a third core concept. If you've ever followed Cardano, you'd know that one of the main goals for them is for them to be completely decentralized. This means that the system must be able to be self-sustained in the future by the Cardano community. And to help solve this, they use a treasury system, which I'll talk about a little more later on. And according to the Cardano docs, their advantages include academic research, system design, security, power consumptions, seamless upgrades, decentralization, and a functional environment for business use cases. And again, I won't be going into everything here in detail, but if you're interested in any of the core concepts, let me know and I'll make a separate video for that. As I mentioned earlier, Cardano was developed as a proof-of-stake system. In a proof-of-stake system, the miner of a block is determined at random by the amount of currency staked. So the more you have, typically, the higher your chances are of winning a block. And one flaw in this proof-of-stake system is that it might be prone to centralization, as whoever controls a really high percentage of stake could ultimately dominate the block mining process. However, Cardano worked on preventing this issue by setting a point in the system where a certain stake pool could get too saturated to the point where it stops earning high enough rewards. This way, it becomes disadvantageous to grow a stake pool past a certain amount. So basically, the more money inside a stake pool, like at a certain point, after a certain point, the less reward you're gonna be receiving. So how do stake pools work in Cardano? A stake pool is a reliable node that stays online 24/7 and holds and maintains the combined stake of various stakeholders. These stake pools are responsible for transaction validation and block production. A Cardano stake pool consists of a stake pool operator, who is responsible for setting up and running the stake pool, and a stake pool owner, who pledges their stake in a pool. Stake pools are meant to ensure that everyone can participate in the system pretty much. Again, fully decentralized. So let's say I set up a stake pool for Cardano. I would give it a name like Anniepool, anime guy, yep, or something that I'd have to keep a node. And yeah, I'd have to keep a node running 24/7, 365. Everyone else who holds it and doesn't want to keep a node running 24/7 would be a stake pool owner and could just delegate their stake to my pool or any other pool they choose. Like if my pool gets too saturated and stops earning high enough rewards, you would probably want to go to a different pool. And again, Anniepool doesn't exist, just an example. But every time my pool gets chosen as the winner, I would be the one to produce and sign for the next block to be added to the chain. And the rewards received for producing that block, as well as transaction fees associated with that given block, would automatically be split among all participants. So if you delegated your stake to my pool, you would get a share in the rewards also. In other words, all rewards Anniepool receives will get pooled together and split among all participants that delegated their stake to the Anniepool. In Cardano, time is divided into epochs. I think that's how you pronounce it. And with each epoch are slots. Each epoch lasts about 5 days, and there are about 432,000 slots per epoch, one slot every second. On average, one block is mined and added to the blockchain every 20 slots or every 20 seconds, and all block and transaction rewards are distributed at the end of each epoch. There are several other coins that offer staking rewards, of course, but the cool thing about Cardano is that there is no lock period when you stake your coins, meaning that you retain your spending power while staking your coins at the same time. With other coins, you usually have to wait a certain amount of time, the lock period, before you can redeem your stake coins and spend somewhere else. And another cool thing about Cardano is that you could stake your coins directly from the Cardano wallets, which would be either Daedalus or Yoroi. Staking rewards are typically around 4.5% right now, but ultimately rewards depend on a couple of different factors. Pulling this from the Cardano docs, it says the actual amount of ADA received in rewards may vary and will depend on a number of factors, including the actual stake pool performance, that is the number of blocks the stake pool is observed to produce in a given epoch versus the number it was expected to produce. Changes to network parameters may also affect rewards. And you can even research and find out which stake pools are ranked the highest, and basically which give you the highest rewards for staking, using online software like Smash. Now I'll go over the Cardano Roadmap, although without going into it in much detail, since that will take way too long. So I'll probably just make a separate video for this some other time for those that are interested, going into this in more detail. One thing to keep in mind is that all these stages are being worked on simultaneously. So just because we're in the second stage right now doesn't mean they're not working on Voltaire, which is the final stage right now as well. But anyways, the Cardano development journey is split into 5 different parts, and each one of these eras is named after a past author or computer scientist. But anyways, Byron was the first stage, and this was the foundation establishment phase. Shelley is the current phase, although not for too long, and this phase focused on decentralization for Cardano. Gogoin is the next phase and is expected to go live sometime in mid-September after the Alonzo hard fork, which is currently scheduled for September 12th. So almost there now. But the Alonzo upgrade will introduce smart contract functionality to Cardano, and this is the reason we've been seeing a lot of price movement for ADA. Cardano went with Plutus as their smart contract development language. So Plutus would be like what Solidity is to Ethereum. Cardano also developed Marlowe, a domain-specific language that makes it easier for people without technical experience to write and execute smart contracts in a financial or business setting. Basically just making it easier for anyone to develop using Marlowe. There's the Plutus Playground and Marlowe Playground for testing your smart contracts out. And if you're interested in learning any of these languages, Udemy has some courses for Plutus and Haskell, which again, Haskell is the main programming language for the Cardano network, as well as there being a Plutus ebook online. This stage also introduced the ability to create and launch fungible and non-fungible tokens, as well as allowing for the creation of native tokens, so similar to the ERC20 way for Ethereum. However, according to Charles, Cardano will treat its native tokens a lot better compared to Ethereum, promising the same security as the security Cardano itself has. And not only that, but users will be able to pay for fees using any Cardano native token. So that's really unique and cool there. And yeah, a lot of crazy stuff happening in this stage and so much more left out. But anyway, Basho was the fourth era in the Cardano journey. And this era focused on scalability and interoperability optimization. And then the fifth and final era is Voltaire, and this focused on governance. This is when the Cardano network will be completely decentralized and community governed. So Cardano has already launched Project Catalyst, which is part of the Voltaire stage, where basically the community gets to vote on network updates, technical improvements of the system, and which projects get funded for development on the network. They do this with the use of their treasury fund, and this treasury gets funded 3 different ways. So one is by obtaining a certain percentage of the block rewards after each epoch. Second is a percentage of the monetary expansion. And then the third would be from donations that they receive. So you or I could pitch our business idea to the Cardano community, and they'll get to vote if we get funded or not. They're currently in Fund 6, and I'll leave a link down below in case you want to learn more about that. Also, if you don't want to participate in voting yourself, you can delegate your voting rights to a stake pool. Just keep in mind that wherever you delegate those rights to, you're basically going to be agreeing with whatever they vote for. So just keep that in mind. But if you do want to vote, you can do it directly from the data list or your wallets too. Another cool thing about Cardano is the use of its hard fork combinator. So usually when a blockchain goes through a change in the protocol, it conducts a hard fork, where essentially the chain will just restart at a certain point, creating a whole new ledger from scratch pretty much. For example, Ethereum is a hard fork of Ethereum Classic. So again, the cool thing about Cardano is that they use something called a hard fork combinator. And this combinator is basically combines protocols. This allowed for Cardano to switch from Byron to Shelley without having to interrupt or restart the blockchain. The transaction history doesn't get lost or anything. It's just like seamless transitions from stage to stage. It's really cool. I don't want to go into it in too much detail here as there's so much to say about this, but all you need to know really is that basically Cardano is able to perform fast and easy upgrades whenever needed. And we can see with Ethereum 2.0 how difficult and time consuming these hard forks could be. So maybe the wait with Cardano was worth it, huh? Now on to scalability, as this is one of the biggest concerns in the world of blockchain today. When you need to have a system that is capable of competing with Visa, for example. Basically, Cardano needs to be able to compete at a global scale while being able to ensure a high amount of transactions per second, low transaction fees, and low latency, as well as some other things, of course. But Cardano came up with a second layer solution called Hydra. Without going into too much detail here, each stake pool can have one Hydra head. So by adding more pools, you could potentially add more heads. Each Hydra head is capable of processing 1,000 transactions per second. So with 1,000 heads, you could reach 1 million transactions per second. And technically, if you needed to go beyond 1 million transactions per second, you could do so just by adding more heads. According to one of the developers at OHK. But I think they're going to scale up as needed. I mean, right now Visa processes around 2,000 transactions per second, so it's not necessary for Cardano to add 1,000 heads yet. I don't think. Again, this was just a really simple explanation of how Hydra works. But if you're interested, I'll leave a link down below to an article that goes over this in much more detail. Cardano already has a number of different partnerships and projects being worked on. I mean, Charles even said himself that there's a group of projects ready to launch after the Alonzo Hub upgrade is ready to go, again, this September 12th. I'll probably make a separate video going over some of these projects in more detail if you guys are interested. But the one partnership I will mention now is the Ethiopia deal that they just landed this year. So earlier this year, Cardano inked a deal with Ethiopia's Ministry of Education, and what was then the biggest blockchain deal to date. Cardano will be providing a digital ID for 5 million students and teachers out there. So right now, people in Africa face a big issue of not being able to get hired for great jobs because of the lack of education proof. With so many fake school degrees out there, it's just hard for employers to trust people's true education, I guess. So using Atala Prism, students and teachers, Atala Prism is another project, by the way. Students and teachers will have their digital IDs on the Cardano blockchain, meaning each and every registered student and teacher will be fully tracked on the blockchain. So students will have 100% proof of their education status and levels, as in what classes they've taken and what subjects they learned, for example, which students specialize in math, which specialize in science, and so on. So this will potentially make it better for them to receive more good paying jobs. They'll start by registering 12th graders and then move on to the rest of the students. And as far as teachers go, they'll be able to track which teachers essentially teach like which subjects the best, and of course their proof of employment. There's no telling what this will do for price for the ADA yet, since IOHK recently announced that they just started the hiring process for the project. But one thing I am sure of is, that I'd probably bet on, is that this isn't the only country that will be placing their digital IDs on the Cardano network. Actually, one other cool partnership that I want to mention is the one with Wolfram Blockchain Labs, which will allow the selling of ADA-based NFTs on their NFT minting platform. And yes, Wolfram Labs is part of the same company like Wolfram Alpha that we all used to use in high school to look up math solutions. Another thing to keep in mind is that earlier this year, Grayscale added Cardano to its digital large cap fund as its third largest investment for this fund, trailing only Bitcoin and Ethereum, of course. And Cardano actually makes up 4.26% of the total fund here. And in terms of tokenomics for Cardano, it has a cap supply of 45 billion ADA. Right now, there's a little over 31 billion ADA circulating, leaving around 14 billion left. The rest of the tokens will come into circulation when distributing rewards to validators who participate in the Cardano network. And here is a picture displaying the initial token allocation for ADA. Most of the initial private selling was done to Japanese investors with serious know your customer requirements. However, one thing to keep in mind is that Cardano has one of the most decentralized platforms of any other blockchain. The coins were spread out very fairly here. Well, that was it for the overview for Cardano, and I hope this made a little bit of sense at least. But yeah, believe it or not, there was so much more left out about it. But hopefully this was enough to give you a good idea of what this cryptocurrency is exactly, and hopefully it's enough to answer your question on whether or not you wish to invest in Cardano. Personally, I do believe in Cardano myself, and I am an ADA hodler. I mean, it's so hard for me to doubt Cardano with all these functionalities IOHK and the whole Cardano team added to the system. I didn't even get into detail about the Cardano token builder. They're just doing everything right as far as I could see. They're creating a development-friendly environment for everyone, regardless of technical abilities. I love the whole idea of it being 100% decentralized and managed by the Cardano community. And I love the fact that holders get to vote on improvements to the system and on project funding. Not to mention they just got listed in Japan a couple days ago. And that's a huge deal. I mean, Japan has some of the toughest crypto regulations out there. And only a handful of cryptocurrencies are allowed on exchanges out there. I think they're like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Cardano now. Anyway, right now Cardano is trading at around $2.70 per coin, but I think this could reach $6 to $8 by the end of the year, maybe even $10, considering that it's cheap enough for A lot of retail investors just jump in without realizing the market cap of Cardano. But yeah, remember that Cardano hasn't even released smart contracts on mainnet yet. So it's hard to tell how many developers are actually going to use the platform and how many users are actually going to use the Cardano platform. So like dApp adoption, and that's really the most important thing. I mean, you got to have users for it to validate the price of Cardano, right? Also, it's going to be interesting to see if Ethereum developers and dApp switch over to Cardano. But all that being said, I do believe Cardano will continue to do some big things to help the developing world. And I do think we have much more gains to come. Hopefully this all made a little sense again. And if anyone wants me to go over anything in more detail, please let me know. Or if you have a coin you want me to review, please let me know as well. Yeah, if you guys prefer like shorter video next time, breaking this up into chunks, yeah, let me know too. But again, none of this was financial advice. And yeah, thanks.